welcome to the stream. Much better day today than yesterday. Much better successful day. Tuesday. Better than Monday. Before I load up the game, I have it written down here on a note here. Very, very important, and I'm hoping, I know it's strong hoping, so I might have to do more online research to getting more opinions because I want to know. But after the last part got up on YouTube, the YouTube VOD channel, I think I was talking about how at the beginning of, the chapters, it has you select like the different routes or possible endings you can go kind of thing. And for this most recent one, I went with the option of picking the thing so that it highlights the good path. I almost say correct path. I don't know if that's necessarily 100% the right way to put it. And then so that my thinking was, it's really smart. If I want to see both endings, it makes sense to highlight the good one, and then we can go the bad path first, see what happens, and then reverse course, go good path. Because, in my opinion, generally, with video games and most things of this nature, I want to see both paths. I kind of want to see the different permutations and all. And then, actually, I should pull up their name because they've supplied some nice feedback throughout the series here. Let me open up my YouTube studio here. So on YouTube, such an apt name. Do you know Oyashiro-sama? On YouTube, commented. Now, previously, they had said in previous things, and this isn't a mean comment on my end or anything, but I've balked at my want to see the different paths and endings. So I take that all into consideration because, I'm trying to get opinions, right? And they said in the last episode when it went up on YouTube a couple days ago that in this chapter, seeing the bad ending, especially first, might potentially ruin, basically what I've surmised is, would ruin my enjoyment of the actual good path, because the bad path is very similar, they said, to the good path, and that I would then enjoy it, or the experience would be lessened, basically, if I'm summarizing and putting some words in the mouth there. Which great knowledge. Like I said, this commenter, very much I'm appreciative of past explanations of different questions I've had throughout the series. So obviously much appreciated. I always say love reading comments in general. But and not just because of I'm not like one of those weird algorithm people or whatever. I don't care. Or don't comment, Comment or don't comment. I love it when you comment or don't comment, honestly. I'll say that, stay neutral. But I want to know if that's actually accurate, if that's how most people, and this is obviously a question directed to people who have read or experienced Higurashi, I guess, in the past, would be able to shed some light there. Because like I said, my natural inclination before knowing this potentially would be like, see the bad path, see the good path, and then we go from there. Their opinion is, if you see the bad path first, then go good path, you're basically seeing a lot of the same stuff. Again, I'm not trying to get spoilery, so if you're going to leave a comment, I know it's hard, but try to not make it verge into spoiler territory, obviously. I'd appreciate that, but as much as possible. So then their opinions don't even, I think, don't even look at the bad path. Now, as a compromise, I was like, in my head, I'm like, okay, well, if we want to avoid ruining the good path, would it make sense then to look at the good path, experience the good path, and then double back and go bad path, which is naturally against my brain's way of thinking, but it would at least, in theory, not, quote, spoil the good path for me as the first experience. That was like the compromisey kind of like action I did. Like I said, unless I get such strong opinions one way, I very much find it hard for me to completely not see the other, quote, bad path unless it's like really atrocious as far as what it actually shows or whatever. In my head, then, as a compromise, it makes sense then to go good, then bad, double back, go bad. I'm using good and bad. I don't even know if that's 100% accurate necessarily for the different routes, but whatever the case is. And yeah, like I said, I'm hoping I get some opinions. I can do internet searching and researching like I tend to do with certain things if I need to try to see if I can get answers. But honestly, especially with how Google is these days, it's a fucking crapshoot what you're going to be able to actually find, where I'm supposed to actually look. Also, I'm dodging fucking spoilers like a fucking landmines if I'm to do that, which is already risky business. So yeah, I talked a lot there, but just trying to get some opinions. I think this stream will hit the YouTube archive VOD archives on Friday morning. So in theory, this you would have Friday and mostly all of Saturday to tell me impart the information, or I guess however long. I don't know when the split happens either for the different routes. So maybe it's not for several streams and then we're fine. If it happens early, then we could be fucked. Who knows? I could be fucked. But at the very least, before Saturday's stream of Higurashi, this stream where I'm asking this question with a black screen will be up Friday. It should be up Friday if I did the math correctly and when I'm actually going to be spacing out things. So that's all the question I have. I know that's about 5 minutes of preamble question before we even get to recap. Although I don't think recap is going to be very intensive. I don't think it has to be intensive today. We started chapter 6 on Saturday after a week and a half long break of Higurashi, as I kept saying. And we were told from the get-go that it is going to be a chill, relaxing, clowning around chapter until the end, which sounds foreboding and like almost like a threat. I feel like chapter 6 is threatening me, if I'm being 100% honest. I love when my visual novels threaten me. But yeah, so we read 2 sections of it, and we basically saw the water gun club activity, and then the punishment in the second section. At Angel Mort, we saw club members in various Rena cute mode outfits. Cute. Kyute. I always want to say, like, when I say cute, I just stress Kyute. So that's what we read. I have a feeling, unless it changes drastically here, I could totally see, I don't know what it's setting up for towards the end, but I could totally see us seeing, like, a bunch of club activities, and I don't know if that ramps up or is going to lead into whatever this tragic thing is going to happen at the end. I remember at the time, even at the end of 5, I was saying I wonder who's going to be the main focused character of here, or whose perspective we're going to be reading from. It seems as if we've got that answer yesterday, or not yesterday, but last stream of this, as being back to Kechi Maibara, which honestly surprised me that we're going back to him. Although technically we got some a little bit of Rena perspective there at the end, like towards the very end when it switched to pink text. So much so I don't think I said at the time, but just like different color text in a Ryukishi thing just makes me just, I don't want to say nostalgic or think back to, but obviously Umineko, various text colors. I just thought it was interesting, but it was an easy way. It took me like 10 seconds, I think, to realize that it wasn't some weird thing, and it was actually trying to denote that we were with Rena's. I just had like a fucking brain blast. I'll describe in just a second. But Rena's perspective. Okay, so I was saying Rena out loud a couple times there, and then I was like, oh yeah, completely forgot. We also got introduced to a new character, another Rena. And so, new character. I don't know who she is, but obviously it seemed as if our Rena was familiar with her, but I think we were supposed to be kind of left vague about who it actually is, unless it's a character I'm supposed to have known, in which case I apologize, or if it was previously mentioned, but I don't. Definitely not looks wise. It was definitely the first time I've seen that sprite, and I'm pretty sure, other than Rena being known as Rena and Rena, it's a fucking problem for me specifically. Other than Rena being known as Rena and Rena, Ms. Ryugu, I think I would have pointed out how funny it was if I caught that there was another character named basically Rena. So I don't think it was mentioned before. I'm pretty sure I wasn't. Now, I'm trying to remember exactly. She was only there towards like the very end of the thing, I think. She didn't really. She showed up. She was there. I think it was like just a tease, you know? A tease of a new character. So let's read a section. Remember, on Tuesdays, we don't really get much more than just a section. Kind of by design. Man, I remember back before I've talked about it before, I'm pretty sure, but before the normal pattern that we did in Umineko, where I think Umineko back at the start, it was supposed to just be once a week. It was just going to be Saturday nights. Now my memory is so bad. I don't even remember if I had established it was going to be a regular scheduled thing, or if I was just like, when I was first starting Umineko, I was like, I'll just do it whenever. And then I realized it was going to be a long thing. So then I think I was like, we should do scheduled. And it was just Saturday nights. And then quickly into that, I remember being like, oh, it's going to be so much longer if I don't read twice a week. So then that's when the Tuesdays and Saturdays got established. But as I always say, Tuesday streams, different energy. It's midweek, mid-work week. Maybe lower energy or higher energy, depending on how you look at it. But it's always just usually one section. But it's necessary. It's only one section, so it's not a lot, but it's necessary, because what I was trying to say when I started all that is, if I was to not read twice a week, and I was just relying on my, Saturday streams, Umineko would not have been done in 1 year, less than, I started, in March or something, Umineko last year, with the goal of trying to finish it in a year. Same with this, but, yeah, we wouldn't finish it in a year, I would assume. Move at even more snail's pace. Also, I was gonna start a little bit earlier tonight, but I was really craving and really thought I deserved some ice cream, so I got myself some ice cream, and I was like, oh, I can just read it. I can just eat ice cream during stream, and then I remembered 3 things about myself. 1, I don't like eating while I'm playing any video games. It's just a thing. I don't like doing it for some reason. 2, I don't like eating while I'm streaming, at all. It's very rare that I would ever do that. That I've done it at all in the years that I've been streaming. And then 3, I was like, I'm also doing a visual novel where I'm constantly reading. So it's not conducive to have a bowl of ice cream. So then once I got my ice cream, I was like, I just sat my ass on the couch and was like, all right, let me just finish eating this. Like, false start to the stream, basically. I was very close to hitting, like, the go live start streaming button, you know? So, blame the ice cream and my impulses for just the slightly later start. Anyway. There you go. You got a 3-part preamble. You got question. You got a question that I'm searching answers for. I want opinions. If I didn't make that clear, if I can get more opinions somehow, that'd be golden. 2, the recap. 3, the fact that I was eating ice cream right before stream. All very important aspects. I always say, my streams, every bit of them, very important. Not just when I hit continue on Higurashi, you know? I'm setting a mood. I'm setting a very important mood. Now, what that mood is, I don't fucking know. Alright, we got, alright, Ketchy. Saying, I don't want to see any sweets for at least 3 days. Oh yeah, I didn't really recap very well, did I? So the whole thing was they did the water battle royale situation at school. And then the second section was the punishment. I talked about it a bit, but basically the punishment, the dress, the attire, and then the fact that they had to be fed sweets. Both Kechi and Rina fed sweets by the losers. The important aspects of the club activity, I think there's 2. I think 1, the fact that Rina and Kechi tied, I think the way they set that up seems like it's going to be a very important thing, either throughout this chapter or even further going forward. I would say the way it's set up, like literally, like I'm not saying literally, but literaturely, that's what I'm trying to say. It felt like it was putting very big emphasis on that. Also, I think there was some dialogue shared between Rina and Kechi saying, I think it was probably Rina, if I'm remembering correctly, who she was saying, like, oh, can't wait till we have another moment like this or something, or we meet again. Kind of like, I forget exactly what the words were, but it was something along the lines of like, oh, we'll have to continue the fight later, or I hope to, square off again, kind of like vibe. And the way it was portrayed, I can't help but think that that's gonna like come back as like a thing later on. Again, I don't know, later on this chapter, likely, or even future in the series. It felt too much of like an opportunity, like a thing that's happening, to be like, oh, this isn't setting up something for the future, It'll be end of chapter, Kechi and Rina with real guns this time, and they have a fight to the end for some reason, shooting at each other. Can't wait. So yeah, I don't want to see any sweets for at least 3 days. You tried a little too hard, Kechi-kun. Rina ate a massive amount of dessert too. Desserts, plural, but her stomach seemed to be just fine. I think girls have 4 stomachs. Or at least an extra stomach for dessert. It is very rude of you to say something like that to a lady. This is what you get for being rude. Bam. Ow. Satsuko had poked me very hard in my bloated stomach. Oh, don't do that. You should never like touch, poke, prod, punch someone with a bloated stomach after just eating. I feel like you're asking for like trouble there. Yeah. Stop it. Please don't poke my stomach. I'm going to throw up. Satsuko and Rika-chan grinned mischievously upon hearing that. A chill ran up my spine. Why were they smiling like that and walking towards me so gleefully? No, stop it, you cold-blooded demons! Oh, ho, 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 ho. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Do you really think I would let it slip away? Meep. Your bloated tummy is in danger, Kechi. Rina's digging it. Your big wiggly tummy's so cute. Stop it. No. Rina joined Satsuko and Rika-chan torturing me. We were still making a lot of noise outside the restaurant. I desperately blocked my stomach from their attacks, but someone else hit me from behind. Ow! Who is it? Hello, hello. It's fucking Shion. I'm surprised we're getting. I mean, I'm not. I don't want to say I'm surprised, but for lack of a better term, the trauma we as the readers experienced with just everything Shion, the one we know. What did I just call her? Mostly Shion. The one we knew as mostly Shion in the last chapter, and how bad things were, and how things escalated, and how things unfolded. It's so now weird to then see, and since that was such a heavy chapter, and also from the perspective of Shion, there's like I had like a weird reflex when like it's like, oh, Shion, oh yeah, oh, it's Shion, but it's obviously prior to all the bad things. Crazy. It's just a slight shock to see her again. Not like not like I should be surprised, but whatever. So yeah, she says, hello, nice to see you, Ki-chan and his funny friends. Oh, Shi-chan. Hello. You weren't at the restaurant today, were you? I'm working night shift today. I just changed after getting here. How can you go outside the restaurant wearing that uniform? What? I'm not embarrassed. Especially not since you had to walk around in a way more embarrassing costume the other day. Damn it, I was just getting over it. She had just reminded me that I'll never be able to get married. Okay, sure. Anyway, heard you went crazy in the restaurant today. We did. We had to, since it turned into a club activity, you know? It made a big mess in there. Looks like Sis felt guilty, so she's helping the waitresses clean up the store now. I still think we should help them clean. Oh, don't worry about it.
さすがにお客様に掃除はさせられませんから。
We can't let customers do that.
そもそも
Said that word.
一番散らかしたのはミー本人だと思いますです。
Plus, me made most of the mess. Yeah, that's right. Everybody nodded in agreement. It's all Mion's
お
fault.
姉から伝言です。
Blame Mion. She told me to tell you guys that you don't have to wait for her.
皆さんは先に帰っててくれていいそうです。
You can go home now.
いいよ、待ってるよ。
No, we're going to wait.
ねえみんな。
Right, everybody? Rina asked for our agreement. Of course, we decided to wait without hesitation. Satoko, Rika-chan, and I all nodded along.
手伝えないならせめて終わるのを待ってるよ。
Since we can't help her clean, that's the least we can do.
帰っていいからって言って先に帰るとあいつ寂しがると思うからな。
While she says we can go home, I'm pretty sure she'd be sad if we really did leave.
おー。
Wow.
ケイちゃんも日進月歩。少しは成長するんですね。
Ki-chan, you grew up. I'm impressed.
まあね。
He grew up alright.
レナたちがちゃんと教育してるからね。
That's because we were training him well. Right?
ですわよ。
That's correct.
ニパ
Nipa.
なんだよ。こういう時だけ女どもは結束しやがって。
You girls always band together when it comes to things like this. I hate girls. They get along so easily just because they're girls. I'm sorry, that line fucking kills me. In the end, we ended up making a lot more noise, even dragging Shion into the mess this time.
シオン、あんたいつまでサボってんの？
Shion, get back in here and help us clean.
雑巾どこやったの？
Where'd you put the washcloths?
ありゃいけね。
Oh, no.
じゃあ私はもう戻りますね。
I guess I have to go back to work now.
みーちゃん。
Me-chan!
お掃除まだまだかかりそう？
Do you think it's gonna take a while?
え、
What?
何みんな？
Why are you still here?
おじさんを待っててくれてるわけ？
Are you waiting for this old man?
余計な気使わなくていいって。
Don't worry about me.
まったくもう。
Go on home already. Mion looked happy to see us waiting for her, but she always says the opposite of what she thinks. I wonder when she'll grow up to be able to be just honestly... I wonder when she'll grow up to be able to just honestly say thank you. That's how I meant to read
バ
it.
カ、仲間だろ。
We're friends, remember?
終わるまで待っててやるよ。
We'll wait until you finish up.
レナたちも一緒にお手伝いできればいいのにね。
I wish we could help you.
ごめんね。
I feel bad.
だからいいって。
I told you, you don't have to wait for me.
今日ね、シオンの仕事終わるの待ってから久しぶりに沖宮の家に帰ることにしたの。
I'm gonna go wait for Shion to finish work tonight, then head to her house in Okinomiya afterward.
だから本当に大丈夫。
So you really don't have to wait for me.
気持ちだけでも感謝するよ。
I do appreciate it though.
あら、本当にいいんですの？
Are you sure?
なんだか悪いですわね。
I still feel bad.
うん、
Yeah,
なんか悪い気がするかな。
me too. Me too.
人は大勢いるから大丈夫だよ。
And we have enough people, so really, don't worry about it.
風が冷たくなる前にみんなひなみ沢に戻りな。
Go home before it gets too cold.
わかりましたのです。
We understand.
みー、お掃除、ファイト、おーです。
Me, I hope you can finish cleaning soon. Go for it, yay!
お
Woo!
ありがとね。
Thanks.
じゃあケイちゃん、
Ki-chan,
お嬢様方のエスコートをよろしく。
I trust you to escort the ladies home safely.
途中で死角に襲われないようにしっかり護衛するんだよ。
Please protect them from assassins on their way home. Looking around, I didn't see any ladies who needed an escort. Got him! Got him! Got him! I felt more like I was the one who needed protection. Anyway, we said our goodbyes, making it easier for us to end the day and go home.
じゃあね、みーちゃん。
Goodbye, Mi-chan.
また明日ね。
See you tomorrow.
おーい、
Yup.
また明日ね。
See you tomorrow.
よっしゃ、行こうか。
Alright, let's go then. We waved at Mion until she went back inside the restaurant. And after that, we all got on our bicycles and left Okinomiya. Fade to evening. Evening time. On the way home... Oh. I like the music transition. On the way home, we talked about how exciting it had been today, and it looked like everyone was still fired up. We had the horrifying punishment, the competitive eating contest, which turned into an unprecedented battle involving all the customers in the restaurant. After that, everything got crazy and messy. At first, the waitresses didn't know what to do, but after a while, they ended up joining in. We had a blast.
でしたのよね。
That was wonderful.
その時の富田さんと岡村さんたらもうおかしくてたまりませんでしたわ。
Did you see what Tomita and Akamura did? How amusing it was.
結局亀田も入江もかわいそうだったのです。
I felt sorry for Kamita and Irie.
いやいや、しかし
So did I, but
俺の演説もなかなかだったろ。
did you think my speech was great?
あの時は店全体が俺の味方だったよな。
Everyone in the restaurant was on my side after that.
圭一は生まれる時代と国が違ったらひょっとするととんでもない人になってたかもなのです。
Kechi, you might have been somebody really important if you were born in a different era. Oh, I love that compliment. you might have been somebody really important if you were born in a different era. You know what? I feel that same way about myself as well. If I was born in like the year like 1400, I'd be unstoppable.
こんな口先男がですの？
And I'd probably die from some like 1400 disease, you know, or whatever the case was happening back then. But anyway, I'd be unstoppable for until the disease got me. So it might be worth it. What? This idiot? He's much too full of himself.
どこの国に生まれてもろくな人間にはならないと思いますでございますわね。
An idiot will always remain an idiot, no matter when or where he is born.
あと100年も早く生まれていたらお札になっていたかもですよ。
If he was born 100 years earlier, he might have gotten printed on bills.
圭一さんのお札なんてなんだか貧しいですわね。
Money with Kechi-san's face on it? How pathetic.
きっと200円札とか300円札とかそのぐらいの数でしたよ。
They would only be worth 2 or 300 yen at the most. Satoko and Rika-chan kept up their continuous chatter. I was a bit tired after the day's event, so I just listened quietly. I noticed the wind was getting colder. Our shadows were getting longer as well. Satoko and Rika-chan still had a lot of energy left, but what about Rina? She'd been very quiet. Maybe she also had a stomachache from eating too much. I looked at Rina to see. However, I was wrong. Rina was... I don't really know how to describe it. She looked very satisfied. She looked like she really did have that much fun. She looked like she was as happy as she could ever be. I could tell all that without her saying a word. When I looked at her, it made me realize that the word fun wasn't enough to describe what we did today.
今日一日本当に楽しかったな。
Seems like you had a lot of fun.
圭一君は？
What about you, Kechi-kun?
俺も最高に楽しかったよ。
I had a blast too.
今日みたいなことが明日や明後日もあればいいのになってくらいにさ。
I wish we could have as much fun tomorrow and the day after tomorrow too.
それはレナも同じかな。
I feel the same way.
今日のお店の中での時間だけが永遠だったらいいなって思った。
I wish from the bottom of my heart that the time we spent in the restaurant today would last forever.
おお、詩的なことを言うな。
Wow, it's kind of poetic. Oh yeah, that was the whole thing. I think before the other Rina like showed up, the other person named Rina like showed up or something, wasn't there during the moment where we were from this Rina's perspective? Didn't we get unless I'm confusing it with another section, another thing that happened like this where like we got from another character's perspective where they're like, oh, things are so happy right now and I'm so loving it and I wish this kind of feeling would last forever. It's like it feels like the second or third time we've gotten from one of the other club members' perspectives where they admit where they're like, I love in this moment in time, this stretch of time, I love the happiness that we feel and for my friends and that we're able to be together, and almost like this longing for it to last forever while knowing that it will not last forever. Both, or either because they know of the bad things impending or coming, or just even if you take it at the most basic or most innocent, like, obviously these feelings, these friendships, these ties, our way of living is not going to be able to last forever. That's, I mean, not to go nostalgic or anything, but, you know, as you're a kid and you have your childhood friends and you have your childhood friend groups and these experiences you have, unfortunately, in almost all cases, you grow up, people grow up, lives happen, you splinter off. Not to sound all doom and gloom or anything, but, like, you know, everyone has those experiences where you're like, damn. And you probably look back a lot more as an adult and you say, man, those times were really nice and I wish those kinds of times lasted forever and all that. So, like, yeah. Either the characters, kind of like how we saw Rika back in, like, chapter 4, be like, oh, the bad things, you know, she's talking to that guy and she's like, these bad things are destined to happen, and, you know, she knows that the end times for these happy times are going to end at some point. Or if you want to go even zoom out and just more basically, like, characters just being like, it's natural rule, it's natural law that, like, these types of these times cannot continue forever, right? I don't know what point I'm trying to make. I just want my childhood back, man. No, I'm. If I get to speak about myself, I'm much happier as an adult than I am, than I was as a child. I try not to look back too much, at certain points in life and be like, oh, it was better then or whatever, because I feel like it's an easy way of trapping yourself into a current life of unhappiness, like a track of unhappiness, if you're constantly looking backwards and being like, oh, it was better back then and I was doing more fun things like that. Like, I don't mean to get all preachy and or hippy dippy about this all, but, like, I do very much believe, like, if you are of that mindset where you're like, it was better back then and my life was better back then, I was having more fun back then, and whatever, I would generally say, like, you gotta try a bit harder to, as basic as possible as it sounds, look forward and try to, like, I don't even want to say improve your life, but try to find the joy and happiness you could possibly having now and forward, right? Anyway, sorry, I'm getting off on a tangent here. Kechi says, wow, that's kind of poetic. Don't you agree, Kechi-kun? Rina didn't notice I made fun of her. I might have been a little tactless. Suddenly, I regretted having said it.
Yeah, 俺も同感だよ.
I do. I totally agree with you.
でもね、ケイチ君。
But you know something?
別に今日だけが最高に幸せってわけじゃないんだよ。
Today's not the only day that's filled with happiness. A cool wind blew through her hair. She smiled at me. For some reason, she looked very mature. Her appearance made my heart skip a beat. Oh, my heart.
私たちのひなみ沢での日々はどの一日だってかけがえのない大切で素敵な幸せな一日なんだよ。
Every single one of our days in Hinamizawa was a wonderful, precious, and irreplaceable day full of happiness.
たとえ部活がお流れになっちゃって退屈な一日だったとしてもね。
Including the boring days when our club activities get cancelled.
レナは大人な考え方ができるんだな。
Reina, you think about things in a very mature way.
そんなことないよ。
No, I don't.
本当はまだまだはしゃぎ足りない。
Honestly, I'm still not done playing around yet.
興奮がまだ冷めないだけなのかもね。
Maybe it's just because I'm still excited. Reina laughed, and that made me laugh too. Satsuka thought that we were laughing because we said bad things about her, and she started bugging me about it. Once again, we made a lot of noise like we always do.
では僕とサトコはここでお別れなのです。
Well, Satoko and I are taking this turn here.
リカ、もう少しご一緒してタバコ屋さんで曲がってもいいではありませんの？
Rika, why not walk with them a little further and turn where the tobacco store is instead?
豆電球が切れたのを忘れましたですか？
Did you forget our nightlight burned out?
豆電球がないと寝るときに真っ暗になってしまいますですよ。
Without that, it's too dark for us to sleep.
それは困りますわね。
Oh, that would be quite the problem.
あ、牧野さんの雑貨屋さん？
Oh, I see. You need to go to Makino-san's general store.
ならここでお別れだね。
Then I guess we'll say goodbye here.
これ以上行っちゃうとどんどん遠回りになっちゃうからね。
You better take this turn or you'd have to go a long way around. Makino-san's general store? Oh, right. That's where it is. If they wanted to make a stop at the store before going back to the shrine, turning here would be the quickest way.
そっか。
Okay then.
じゃあな、リカちゃんにサトコ。
Bye, Rika-chan. Bye, Satoko.
また明日な。
I'll see you tomorrow.
また明日なのです。
See you tomorrow.
それではですわ。
Farewell, Kechi-san.
ケイチさんにレナさん。
Farewell, Rina-san.
じゃあね、二人とも。
See you two tomorrow.
バイバイ。
Bye bye! Rika-chan and Satoko waved at us many times, then took the narrow path through the field. Once the noisy girls were gone, it went especially quiet all of a sudden. It even made me feel as if the sun had set in an instant. I could see my house by now, which everybody called the Maibara Mansion. I didn't notice it earlier because of how fed up we all were, but my stomach was about to burst. The growling in my gut felt like thunder. My body must have been paying the price for me acting like an idiot earlier. There was no way I was eating dinner that night. I need to tell my mom before she started cooking. But before anything happened, I had to get to the bathroom. Ugh, my stomach was churning. Oh boy, it didn't sound good. We got to the place where I'd always meet Rina in the morning and say goodbye in the evening.
今日はすっげえ楽しかったな。
I really did have a lot of fun today.
すっごい楽しかっ
Me too.
た。あれ？ケイチくん具合悪いの？
Are you feeling okay, Kitchikun?
すまん、お腹を壊したかもしれない。
My stomach is growling.
おとなしく休むことにするよ。
I guess I just need to get some rest.
ケイチくんもまだまだお腹の鍛え方が足りないかな？
Or, use the restroom probably. Rina says, you need to train your stomach, huh? Huh?
レナだって俺と同じくらい食べてるはずなんだぞ。
You ate about as much as I did.
一体その細っこい体のどこにあれが収まるってんだ？
How did you fit all that inside your tiny body?
それは女の子の秘密ってことで。
Okay. She says, that would be a woman's secret. Rina giggled and tried to avoid giving me an answer. She'd probably hit me if I pressed her about it. If she punched me in the stomach, I'd throw up for sure. So, decided not to go any further.
じゃあな、レナ。
Goodbye, Rina.
また明日な。
See you tomorrow. Yes.
また明日ね。
See you tomorrow.
俺さ、前は都会に住んでたわけだけどさ。
You know, I used to live in the city.
お？
Yeah?
こんなにも一日一日を楽しいと思って過ごしたことはなかった。
I never managed to enjoy each and every day like this before.
俺、ひなみ沢に引っ越してきてさ、
But after moving to Hinamizawa,
きっと幸せなんだって思う。
I think I've found happiness.
レナも同じだよ。
That's like the second time in this chapter that his previous life before coming here was mentioned. And we've gotten that in previous chapters as well, where he's talked about how, like, I don't know what the right word would be, meaningless or repetitive or lack of direction his life felt pre coming to Hinamizawa. I'm just so glad he's happy. Rina says I feel the same way.
ほら、私 私も1年前にひなみ沢に引っ越してきたわけだけど、
I moved to Inamizawa a year ago.
こんなに楽しい幸せな日々を送れるのが信じられないもの。
I can't believe I'm as happy as I am and spend every day having as much fun as I do.
そっか。
I see.
なら明日も絶対に楽しいな。
I'm sure tomorrow will be the same.
そうだよ、
That's right.
昨日も今日も楽しかったんだもん。
We had so much fun yesterday and today.
きっと明日だって楽しいよ。
So, tomorrow will be the same.
こんなにも毎日が楽しいと、なんだか
Until
ある
something
日突然
ruins
転
it.
びそうで怖いよな。
With all the fun we have every day, I sometimes feel like I'm going to trip and fall sometime. It kind of scares me.
転ぶときはどんなに注意してても転ぶよ。
You fall when you fall, no matter how careful you are.
だからいつ転んでもいいように思いっきり今を楽しむのが正解だと思うな。
That's why I believe we have to enjoy every moment as much as we can.
そうだな。
You're right.
今を精一杯楽しむのが正解だな。
We gotta enjoy every day as much as we can.
じゃあねケイチくん、
Well, it's probably time to go.
おばさまとおじさまにもよろしくね。
Please say hi to your parents for me.
さてレナはまだまだ遊び足りないから、
Well, I still have a lot of energy left. How?
また宝の山に宝探しに行こうかな。
So I'm gonna go treasure hunting.
まだ遊び足りないってのか？
What? Are you going there now?
つくづくタフなやつだな。負けたぜ。
You sure are resilient. I'm impressed.
どう？
What about you?
よかったらケイチくんも一緒に来ない？
Would you like to come along?
新しい山があってね、まだ全然発掘してないの。
I found a new trash pile that I haven't dug up yet. God, it's been forever since I've thought about Rena and trash pile digging. But just like in my head, the visual of like Rena going like trash diving is just very funny to me. I don't know why. Just digging around trash.
何かとっても可愛いのが見つかるかも。
I might find something totally cute in there.
悪いけど俺はパスするよ。
I'm sorry, but I gotta pass.
それになんだか雲が重たくなってきたみたいだしな。
Besides, it looks like a storm's brewing.
レナも今日はおとなしく帰宅した方がいいんじゃないか？
I think you should go straight home too.
ほう、こういう素敵な気分の日にはね、きっと可愛いのが見つかるんだよ。
Oh, I usually find something cute when I've had a wonderful day like today.
だからちょっとでも行ってみるね。
So, I'm gonna go there for a few minutes. Just for a few minutes. She can't help herself. Ehehehe. I felt sick enough that I didn't feel like going with her. If I felt better, I would have gone treasure hunting with her for sure. She didn't want to go home yet because she didn't want the fun day to end. That's exactly how I felt too.
わかったよ。
I understand.
じゃあな。
Bye then.
可愛いのがあったらぜひ見せてくれよな。
I hope you can find something cute. Yep.
じゃあね、
Thank you.
バイバイ。
Bye bye. Bye bye, Rena. Up. Oh, we're switching perspectives again. Look at that. We're getting like the dual protagonist in this chapter. Oh. I didn't know we'd get it a second time. No, we get to go back to the we get to go dumpster diving then, yeah? Not dumpster, but what is it? Trash site. Keshikin waved over and over as if he didn't want to say goodbye yet. But after a while, he was gone. Well, I had to go too because I was going to go treasure hunting. I love cute things. I had such a wonderful day today that I'm sure I'm going to get lucky at treasure hunting. I definitely will find some wonderful treasures. I pedaled my bicycle with determination. My house was nearby, but I took another street that led to the dam construction site. It might have been okay to go home just then, but I hesitated to go since I didn't want to be seen. I had so much fun today and I wanted to continue feeling happy as long as I could. It was already getting late, but I felt like it was getting dark faster than usual. Just like Ketchikun said, the clouds in the sky were growing darker. It might start raining hard.
でも別にだからって家に帰れるわけじゃないんだし。
But that doesn't mean I have to go home already. Stop it, Rena. You had so much fun today. You have to stay happy as long as you can. This has a bad, connotation to it. Almost like, oh, the moment I go home, the happiness ends, and I hate to think of like a reason why that would be the case. But I'm happy. I enjoy it every day. Rena, say it. Say the magical words. How? Don't be embarrassed. You're not dumb or anything. I might be able to enjoy every day even more if I were dumb. If so, dumb is what I'd want to be. How? I'm going to find something so cute. Oh man, reading this front like inside of Rena's brain. Am I to interpret this then as like her being like, hey, if I remain ignorant, I will be more happier as a person. If I don't let potential stressors get to me, is that what I'm supposed to be interpreting kind of here? Her like in her brain formulating like, hey, if I act goofy, if I remain ignorant, I would be a generally happier person. And is she admitting that that's like forming her personality kind of thing? I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but it's just, like I said, an interesting kind of thing to read from her character's perspective. And take it home with me. There, I said it. I'm sure I can find something cute. Cute. So cute. As long as I believe it's cute, anything can be that way. I should fill my heart with happy memories of today and yesterday. I should look forward to the happiness I'm going to receive tomorrow and the day after tomorrow too. I reached the damn construction site. A mountain of trash loomed before me. I parked my bicycle and walked down the mountain of trash and scrap. This place is my castle. It would be incredible if anyone else came to this mountain of trash. I've come here many times and usually stay for a long while, but I've never seen anybody walk by. This place is the village's blind spot. I heard that many people come here all the time during the dam wars. Came here. That makes more sense. All the time during the dam wars, but it was abandoned after that. The villagers no longer need to come here, and some people even forget about it entirely. It seems like the dam dump trash here. It seems like they dump trash here at midnight, but I've never seen a truck actually dumping trash at least. If they dump new trash more often, it gives me more time to kill. But it looks like it's not going to happen for a while. I walked down the slope of the trash pile, all the way down to the bottom, and headed behind another pile. Nobody ever comes here. I've come here many times and I usually stay for a long while, but nobody's ever come to mess up this place. Not even the other kids from my school came here. They all believe that the arm of the manager of the construction site is buried somewhere in the trash piles, and they also believe the whole place is haunted. They told me that a ghost with one arm still wanders around here, looking for his missing limb. Sadly, I haven't seen the ghost either. I'm not scared. In fact, I'd rather like to meet him. I wouldn't mind helping him find his arm. She wants to meet a ghost. If he's feeling lonely, I'd want him to be my conversation partner. There's a station wagon buried in the trash pile. It doesn't have tires, but other than that, it still looks like a station wagon. The station wagon is my secret hideout. Fortunately, sliding door and rear doors don't open. So, whenever I want to get in, I have to enter the car from the passenger seat and crawl into the back from there. Of course, take off my shoes at the passenger seat. When you look at it from the outside, it's just a dirty, abandoned car. But on the inside, it's nice and clean because I had swept it out and decorated a little. That took me a long time. Cute. The back seats are lying flat because I wanted to have as much space as possible. I found a mattress in the trash pile and put it in that space instead. Something about that seems very unsanitary. I don't mean to be, germaphobe of Jason or whatever, but like a dirty mattress, like located at a dump site kind of like thing. Yeah, you don't know what happened to that mattress, both pre getting dumped and post getting dumped. You know what I mean? Like, you can, the thing is, mattresses, you can, like, attempt to clean them even, If the next sentence here was written, I did a deep cleaning of that mattress, I still would question it, because you can't, you know, the mattress, yeah, you think you clean it. Nope. Nope. It's the opposite of cleaning the thing. Didn't even try. It was a bit dirty, so I brought a bed sheet from home and covered the mattress with it. I put my favorite cushions on top, and with that, it turned into a perfect bed. I put cushions and stuffed animals everywhere. That's not all. Look at this. I have a bunch of sweets here, too. I have a bag of fruit candy in 4 different colors, and some cookies. But they're going bad. I'll have to throw them away. My bear-shaped water bottle was empty. When I come here to spend some time on Sundays, I usually bring this water bottle with some sweetened tea in it. I have a box of tissues, a flashlight, extra batteries, and other daily necessities in here. I also have a few books to read in order to kill some time while I'm at it. And I have this. What do you think this is? Look. Ta-da! My hideout suddenly lit up, thanks to the table lamp. There's an electric outlet on the side of an old nearby construction office. I thought they'd have cut the power years ago, but to my surprise, I was wrong. Electricity is still being supplied to the outlet. When I found tons of extension cords, I came up with the idea to connect them all and make the electricity come all the way to my hideout. Now I can spend time here comfortably with some sweets, books, and lights. If I wanted to, I might be able to spend the night here. But I may catch a cold since it gets very cold at night. Ha 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 ha. See? This is a very nice hideout, isn't it? At first, I thought somebody would find it and mess with it. But that hasn't happened so far. That reminds me, God, there was, back in my elementary school days, I had a group of friends. It was like me, and really like the core of the friend group was like me and like 4 other guys. 4 other boys, I guess, at the time. Elementary school. I don't know why I said guys, but then that, you know, we were young boys in elementary school. And we would we were all in the same neighborhood, and we would spend like weekends just like outside, just riding our bikes like really far out, like around the neighborhood, and then also like pretty quite far out, especially for just how, you know, young/old we were. How young we were. And then we located in like this weird forest thing, like intentionally cleaned out, like clearing in a forest where it almost looked like it was intentionally somehow cleared out, like just a random like hole of no trees amongst a group of actual trees, if that makes sense. So like dense, thick layer of trees, like a section of trees, like this little foresty area, and then like what seemed to be like a concerted effort of like clearing out trees to make like a hole. So it was like a hole like of just ground inside of a forest when we found it. And then we started like outfitting it with like almost like back the old Pokemon game, Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, I believe, where they introduced like secret bases. Imagine like that. Like we were, you know how like, you know, like in Ruby and Sapphire, you could make like a secret base, especially inside of trees. I remember you could do it inside trees, and like you could do it in caves, like cave walls and stuff too, or stuff like that. And it reminded me a lot of that. It looked like that, where it was like we then like took this already made like clearing of trees area, and then we just started outfitting it with like a bunch of things you would think in like of a little boy's like elementary like hideout, basically. Like we took like a lot of, I wasn't able to take a lot of stuff from home just because I was like, well, I can't bring like a mattress from home. But somehow we had like, I don't think we had a mattress, but we had like one of us was able to bring like a hammock like thing, and we strung it up between like 2 trees, and then there was just like a bunch of shit that we just brought. And then it was like, I remember when we first decided to like start outfitting it, that we're like, what if like next time we show up here, like next weekend, like it's disturbed, like someone fucks with our shit or moves it or takes it or something. And to our surprise, no. And then that's when we officially were like, hey, we might be the only ones that are like using this. I don't want to say the only ones that found it, obviously, but the only ones that were using it like that. Or what you would like to think, out of the goodness hearts of other people, if someone else came across, like if you came across like someone else's like secret base like that, especially because it probably looked like a little kid's like secret base, you would hope like out of the goodness of whoever else found it, they'd be like, oh, we're not going to disturb it, we're not going to like, either because they're like, oh, it's claimed territory, or we're not going to fuck with their fun, you know? You'd like to think one of those two things. But yeah, it was really cool. That was a really cool friend group I had in like I said, it was like grades like 2 through 4, 2 through 5. Because that friend group, I know I'm massively deviating from the story here, so apologies if you don't care at all. But I'm feeling nostalgic. That friend group was really cool, but I think, like I said, it was me and like 4 others. And I want to say 1 or 2 of them ended up moving away. In like after like 3rd grade or something. So we lost like a chunk. You know, in a group of 5, if you lose 1, that's already feels like a big chunk. And I'm pretty sure it's like we lost like 2 within the span of like a year and a half or something. And then it was like 5th grade, and then 5th grade happened, and then there's like obviously when you're a kid, that chance of like splitting because of like schools that you end up going to, like in middle school. So I think like another one we lost because he went to a different middle school, was like zoned to a different school, and so that friend group kind of dissipated. And I always talk about sucks because then after 7th grade was when I moved as a kid from Texas to Florida, and then just obviously that friend group and that's like splintered friend groups that kind of sprung from that all just dissipated. Isn't it funny that earlier in this stream I was like, oh, don't worry about the past times. don't look too fondly on the past times and be like, oh, those are so fun, and that you would never be able to, you know, find fun in life after. And then here I am talking about nostalgic friend things from my past. Funny, curious, strange. Sorry, tangent. I know, the thing is, I know there's like, there's gotta be people watching this who are like, don't give a single fuck. They don't care about my story, especially like a story like that, because there wasn't like any goodness to it. I gotta say, there was no huge payoff to the story. So, you know what? I could have said, you know, could have been mean and been like, oh, fuck you, go find someone else playing Higurashi. But no, I'm not gonna say that. I'm gonna say, I apologize. I'll try to be better next time. Genuinely. I'm thumbs upping and winking to the camera. You just can't see it. It's very funny. No joke, I am constantly like gesturing or not making a ton of faces, but I'm constantly like gesturing to the camera I have set up for the streams, but obviously I don't have that displayed. I talk about this all the time. I gesture as if the camera is always on, if that makes sense. And it technically is on, it's just it's not displaying anything right now to you guys. So much gestures you don't get to see, you know? It's probably for the best. I always talk about how like actually animated especially when I'm reading these things, like reading Higurashi or Umineko or anything, playing any video game, honestly, I do get actually very expressive, and I do a lot of hand gestures. I talk with my hands a lot while I'm streaming. And I like to think that that comes across by even without the video. Something about like not because like you could hear me moving my hands around or anything, but I feel like my mannerisms of like talking and how I like, just how I talk somehow conveys like body motion. I don't know if that makes sense. Sounds like I'm just talking nonsense, but I feel that my hand motions come across in the way I talk. I don't think it's that crazy to say. Anyway, at first, I thought somebody would find it and mess with it, but that doesn't happen so far. That's because nobody comes here, and everybody forgot about this place. That's how this place became my perfect secret hideout. Fortunately, I ate so much today that I'm still full. I can tell them that I was playing with my friend at her house and ate dinner there. I'm going to stay here for a while and relax, and I'm going to treat myself. I loved the water gun battle yesterday. My heart had been pounding when I fought one-on-one with Ketchikun. I also had great fun at Angel Mort today. I never experienced such a crazy game with so many people in my life. I was still feeling the after effects, and I was sure I'd have a dream about it tonight. That was why I wanted to bask in these happy feelings. That was why I'm going to treat myself in here. I should take off my shoes and stretch my toes. I should cherish the time when I can be myself. Once I took off my shoes, I felt so relaxed that I didn't want to put them on again. I played all day today and I was very tired. The treasure hunt could wait. As it got darker, the light on the table lamp became encouraging. Of the table lamp. It really was getting dark faster than usual. All of a sudden, I heard the sound of raindrops hitting the roof of the car. Pitter-patter, pitter-patter, pitter-patter. The interval between drops got shorter and shorter. When it became a continuous sound, I began to hear thunder. Even though it was raining heavily, it remained very quiet inside the car, making me feel like I was in a different world. It's my castle, after all. I felt a bit cold, so I unfolded my big blanket and hid under it. I'm here alone, under the warm blanket that has my scent. Even though nobody knew where I was at the moment, and I feel like I was left alone in the heavy rain, I still feel secure and free from anxiety for some reason. I felt like this heavy rain was keeping my enemies away from my castle. I liked it that way. This place is full of small happiness. It's full of my favorite things. That's why I'm happy whenever I'm here. When I put another blanket over me, I felt as warm as if I were in bed. I listened to the soothing sounds of raindrops hitting the scrap iron, the trash heaps. It made me feel sleepy. This is a castle of trash. She's the trash queen. The trash came here because nobody wanted it. This is where it lives. This is a country where unwanted refuse lives together. Yeah, there's got to be some, like... Have we... I was thinking about this as we've been reading, like, from her perspective here in just a short while. Is this setting up, like... Am I just have not put it together necessarily? But other than, you know, the story we got from, like... Oishi about like Rina's past, and then where she had to move basically and relocate because her previous problems, like at school and stuff. Other than those stories, like, we don't know a shit ton of background about Rina, right? And is that what we're setting up for? Are we gonna get like problematic family life kind of thing, like stories happening? Because it seems as if we're being painted, we're being subtly shown that she prefers as little time as necessary having to be home, right? She made it sound like she was having less fun, or her fun of a day would end once she got home. She's also preferring to be out here and then back home, it seems. She's also made this like a second home almost. And now she's talking about how, like, this area, me amongst all this trash, we are one and the same. And this is where the castaways come, right? I'm thinking that's kind of where we're going with this. Anyway, this is a country where unwanted refuse lives together. I felt like I fit in here. But at the same time, I knew it was just a temporary place for me, as there's somewhere I had to go back to. No, I shouldn't think about things like that. Whenever I realize that I don't belong here, I remember I'm in the middle of a very dirty pile of trash. I should just doze for a little bit longer. Thinking is poisonous. I wanted to keep myself out of that poison, so that the kind Rina within me could stay pure. A little bit longer. Just a little bit longer. And I closed my eyes. Oh, here we go. Here comes the backstory. With this slightly sad tinged piano-y like music. It's not like piano, it's more like music box, isn't it? My mother was a very busy woman. The harder she worked, the more her work was valued, and she kept getting promoted. She sought to go higher and higher. She was always shining, and she was my hero. My mother started her career as a fashion designer at a small clothing factory in Umineko. My father was a designer too. They met through their jobs and soon got married. They lived in a small apartment in Umineko, but they moved to my grandma's house, our current house, in Hinamizawa when she got pregnant with me. We lived there until right before I went to elementary school. Now that I think about it, that was the happiest time of my life. I felt happy every day and believed without a doubt that tomorrow would be the same. I was so happy that I took it for granted and didn't even feel the happiness. I really did feel happy every day. I was small at the time and didn't really understand what was going on, but it seemed like the company my parents were working for was having financial difficulties. So, my mother and a few other young designers started talking about leaving the company and going independent. After many things happened and the situation grew complicated, they got an offer to work at a big design firm in Ibaraki, and they took the offer. At that time, I heard my mother saying many difficult words like limited partnership and business alliance, but in short, what she wanted to do was move to Ibaraki. Or Ibaraki? I don't know. One of those. My mother and her peers were hired because their talent and experience made them immediate assets at their new company. However, my father wasn't one of them. Unfortunately, my father wasn't as talented as my mother was. Oof. Untalented father. So I don't know why I said it like that. So moving to Ibaraki or Ibaraki meant that one of those meant that my father had to give up being a fashion designer. Ooh. My mother's new company had high expectations of her talent and promised her a responsible project. She didn't want to waste her growing talent and passion by living in a rural town like Hinamizawa. So my mother convinced my father to quit his job and move to Ibaraki to support her and to help her build her career. Back then, moving meant that I had to say goodbye to my close friends. I didn't want to move and I kept crying about it. After we moved to Ibaraki, my mother was a big success. Not only did she have great leadership skills, she was full of energy and I believe she made the best use of her talents to succeed. She came home late every night and barely had any days off. When she had a big project, she often stayed entire nights at her office. But when she came home, she always looked fulfilled and wore a happy smile that she had never worn when she was in Hinamizawa. She was shining, and I remember I always wanted to shine like her when I grew up. On the other hand, my father wasn't doing so well. He couldn't find a job as a fashion designer, so he took a clerical job at a small company, but he kept changing positions. He couldn't use the experience that he had cultivated. It was very hard for him. But he was very understanding. He started to take care of things around the house for my mother, who got busier and busier having one project after another. He cleaned the house, did the laundry, and came to my school events. However, he couldn't cook. He did cook rice, but I always bought side dishes from a grocery store. We ate dinner without my mother more and more often. I guess she's busy again. Every time I said that, he always told me, "Your mother's working very hard. So, let's support her, Reina. That was what he always told me. I decided to help my father with the cooking. I thought it was a good idea to learn how to cook, since he wasn't good at it. Whenever my mother cooked, I helped her and tried to learn how to cook from her. She apologized for not having enough time to cook for us, but she was happy that I was learning. I think I wrote in my school yearbook that I wanted to be a clothing designer in the future, just like my mother. But apparently I lacked my mother's exceptional sense of style. She used to tell me, taste is something that you're born with, not something that you cultivate. I remember I was discouraged to be a designer because of that. That was why I decided to reach her by getting better at things she wasn't so good at, instead of trying to be like her. I wanted to be good not only at cooking, but also at doing things around the house, such as cleaning, doing the laundry, and grocery shopping. I remember my father was really happy that I did all that for him, because he wasn't good at it at all. He couldn't find a job and spent a lot of time at home, so he seemed to enjoy spending time doing the housework with his daughter more than anything. I started to become better and better at filling in for my mother, and she started to get too busy to do any of the housework at all. She moved on to a more responsible position at her job. She took me out to many places, as if to compensate for leaving me alone all the time. She used to say, "Let's go eat something delicious without telling your father," and took me out to a restaurant. She took me to high-class restaurants and amusement parks. Sometimes it was only me and my mother. Sometimes it was with her friends from work. She took me to a beach barbecue one summer with those friends. I was introduced as her daughter, and every one of them pampered me. I still remember there was this one guy who particularly doted on me. He was a good-looking young man. I called him Uncle once, and he got mad at me. Unk. That guy got called Unk and got mad. Who was nicely tanned with dyed brown hair. Unk. This young man often came with us when we went out. When my mother took me somewhere, she usually made several phone calls for her work during the day. Sometimes she took me out to a place where she could also do her work at the same time. Wait, did we set up? Is this young man? I still remember there was this one guy who particularly doted on me. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading way too much into the young man who got called Uncle. Maybe you know what? I will wait for the game if it goes any further about who this man is. All right, let's not read too much into it. Who knows? Could just be a guy. It's just a work friend. Although if Rina's mom and dad get separated, and then Rina's mom continues to be a workaholic, obviously slightly different situation, but the comparison to Maria, the comparison of Rina to Maria being from Umineko, starts getting really really, what's the word I'm looking for? Pronounced. That's the best word I could come up with. The comparison gets really pronounced, I would say. Anyway, now I'm just having all these flashbacks to fucking Maria and her mom and how bad her mom was. We don't need to go back to Umineko. It's not. But also, I don't want to potentially spoil things for Umineko. But I mean, I'm pretty sure it's told quite early in Umineko's story about how bad Maria's mom is. Just how bad? You'll have to read Umineko for yourself. Or watch me play all of Umineko and all the other Umineko related things that I did last year on stream. It's a really fun watch. I'm tempted, every once in a while, I am very tempted to just open up a random Umineko stream from last year and just have it on in the background. But then I'm quickly reminded that I hate listening to my own voice, so then I don't do it. And I'm like, ooh, that was close. Oh god, I almost had to listen to my own voice for a second. Holy shit. I've narrowly avoided disaster. So I didn't feel awkward when people from her work came with us. But I always preferred to be alone with her, so I was happier when we could do that. One day, she took me to a very high-end part of town. Of course, she always spoiled me whenever we went out. She bought me things and let me eat whatever I wanted. But she especially spoiled me on that day. She took me to many expensive-looking boutiques and accessory stores. She was about to buy me something, but I told her not to get it because it didn't look good on me. Without hesitation, she bought it anyway. Trying to fill in the gaping holes of being a standard good parent with, buying her things. Classic. I remember there were many zeros on the price tag. On that day, I realized my mother's design work had made her a very successful woman. She was earning a lot of money. We took a break at a ridiculously expensive-looking restaurant that probably charged 1,000 yen for a glass of orange juice. Oh, so expensive! My mother clapped her hands and spoke to me with a smile on her face. She asked, "Rina, would you like to make your dream come true?" When I was in kindergarten, my teacher gave students a topic to draw a picture of. The topic was my dream, and I drew myself eating a mountain of fruit parfait all by myself. What my mother meant to say was that she was going to make that dream come true for me. It was a normal day. It wasn't my birthday or anything. But since my mother always spoiled me when we went out together, I didn't feel awkward about it at all. I accepted her offer with a happy smile. I see you're excited about Higurashi. Excitement palpable. Thank you for the follow as well. There were 5 or 6 of fruit parfaits. Wait, is that how that's ended? There were 5 or 6 of fruit parfaits in front of me. Sure. I think that of is extra. I remember it looked exactly like the world I drew, and I felt like I was floating in that dream world. It was too much for us to finish, but we dug our spoons into it as if we were playing in the mud, and we really enjoyed eating it together. Did I read the sentence correctly when it was said... One sec. When I was in kindergarten, my dream, I drew myself eating a mountain of fruit parfait. Okay, I did read that correctly. I did understand that. Fucking Rina's dream was that she just wanted to be surrounded with fruit parfait. Love it. It was my first time to experience getting full by eating only fruit parfaits, and I remember I was very happy. I enjoyed tasting the happiness and chatting with my mother.
レイナちゃん、
Oh, we got Rina's mother's voice. Rina-chan.
この間映画とお食事に行った時、一緒だった人のことを覚えてる？
Do you remember the man who went to the movie and had dinner with us last time? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. It's happening. It's happening! I felt it. I felt it earlier. No, this is the talk. This is the talk the mother is giving her. Uh-oh. Oh, no. They're doing the father dirty. Just because he couldn't get a good job. She became too good for him. Oh, and he was trying his best. Oh, I feel bad for the father all of a sudden. Oh, my heart. My corazon.
秋人おじさんだっけ？
Oh, baby Rina voice, but I'm not gonna try to mimic that too much. I'm not gonna talk like a baby, unfortunately, or fortunately. Are you talking about Uncle Akihito?
お兄さんって呼ばないとぶたれる。
How? Though I can't call him that or he's going to hit me. Oh boy. Oh boy.
レイナちゃんは秋人さんのこと好き？
God, I was so fucking right. They introduced, hey, there was this man that she always brought along with us. And immediately my, like, radar went boop, 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 boop. Oh no, that's the new guy. She says, Rina-chan, do you like Akihiro-san?
嫌い。
I hate him.
いつもレイナのことからかうもん。
He always teases me.
それは大好きだからちょっかいを出してるのよ。
That's because he likes you.
バーベキューの時はとっても仲良くしてたじゃない。
You got along well with him at the barbecue.
おー。
Well,
たまには仲良しかな。
I get along with him every now and then.
かな？
Every now and then. My mother laughed. I didn't know why she brought up the subject, but I didn't really pay attention to it because I was too young. Now that I think about it, she was breaking the news. I just didn't notice it.
ね
Rina-chan.
え、レイナちゃんはお母さんとお父さんとどっちが好き？
Who do you like better, your father or me? That's such a weird way of bringing it up. Oh, God, I have so much to say. Like, I don't know if I like it being approached with a little kid like this. Saying like, hey, who do you like better? Me or your dad? Like, that seems kind of manipulative. It's hard. I was gonna say even before this sentence popped up, I feel bad for the father, but like, it's one of those things where like, in the story's narrative, we don't have the full picture, right? But at least from what we were just told, is that the mom got really, work-related, popular with her work. She was very, God, what's the term I'm looking for? She was very well sought after for her work. She gets a really big break, work-related, and then the dad gives up his career, basically, relocates so that the mom can do her thing. And it's seemingly getting left in the dust. And it's like, oh, God. Obviously, and the thing is, divorces, relationships in general, they end, you know, for many reasons. They happen for many reasons. I'm not here saying I'm an expert, obviously, or anything. But, man, this framing seems rough. So that question, like, obviously I think it's supposed to come across as a little scummy here. Like, being the mom, doting, like, spending a full day of just completely, like, splurging on your daughter or whatever. And then almost somewhat manipulatingly be like, hey, Rina, who do you like better? Your father or me? It's like, I don't know. It's rough. You! It wasn't that I hated my father or anything, but I thought giving her that answer was appropriate after she spoiled me so much.
もしもお母さんとお父さんが別々のお家に住むことになったら、レイナはどっちのお家に住みたい？
If I said I'm going to live in another house away from your father, which of us would you like to live with? Ooh, the music just cutting out. Oof. Huh?
お母さんね。
I'm thinking
お父さんと別れて、秋人おじさんと結婚しようと思うの。
about divorcing your father and getting married to Akihiro-san. At the time, my mother was a very successful woman. I didn't know this at the time, but she was drafted by a headhunter to work at a bigger company, where she was promoted to a higher and more responsible position, one where she could bring out the most of her talent. Of course, the position wasn't the only thing she gained. Compared to my father's low salary, my mother was earning enough money to support a family of 3 and still have some left over. I'd kind of realized it from the way she spent money. The greater position she achieved, the more she spent time with people at her level. All of them were bright and talented. Compared to them, my father might have looked unattractive to her. I liked Uncle Akihito, but I liked him as one of my mother's friends, not in the same way I liked my father. I liked my father and mother equally, so it was very shocking to me that my mother wanted to divorce him. I felt as if the ground below me was beginning to crack. That expression, I realized, actually fit my situation very well. I had to choose which side of the cracked ground I wanted to stand on. My mother told me to live with her at her new house. Her new house meant the house Uncle Akihito lived in. I thought a house was a sanctuary for a family. Ooh, that line. I thought a house was a sanctuary for a family. Coming from like a little kid, like a little one's perspective. I believe that house was a holy place where strangers couldn't easily enter. That was why I couldn't believe her. How could she let a stranger invade such a holy place so easily? Why do you hate my father? My mother looked down and didn't answer. I asked her another question. Why can't you stay with my father? I think that was the hardest and the most heartbreaking of all questions for my mother to answer. In short, my mother had cheated on him. You know me, always. I'm so, even though I know it's just a fictional story right here, but I'm one of those people. I have no sympathy for cheaters in relationships. It's such an easy thing you can avoid. Rina's mom, why? She loved another man who was more attractive than my father. It was just that, nothing more. I knew more than anybody that it wasn't my father's fault. First of all, he decided to move from Hinamazawa to support my mother as much as he could. For him, nothing good had come from that. I know, this guy's life is just fucking ruined. Ugh. Actually, I think he had a very tough time since we moved to Ibaraki, whatever. One of those, I'll keep saying it. But he volunteered to be her support and tried very hard to do that. I thought my mother appreciated his support. So, I took her decision as a betrayal. I told her that I disagreed with everything, including their divorce. I said it very loudly and made everybody in the store jump. Sure, continue your relationship with Uncle Akihito, but don't divorce my father. I feel bad for him. Wow, Rina as a little child is being like, don't divorce, continue to just cheat on him. That would be better. Wild, Rina. I feel bad for him. I feel terrible for him. He has been doing nothing but support you patiently this whole time. How could you do such a cruel thing to him? I screamed as loud as I could. Then my mother answered. It's too late. Why? You haven't talked with my father about this, have you? It's not too late.
お母さんね、
I'm
妊娠してるの。
pregnant. Oh! This feels like it's gonna be an important element. I don't know whether my mother actually told him about the divorce in person. Maybe it's not. I don't know. It just feels like whatever. A middle-aged woman who called herself a lawyer came to the house several times to talk to my father on my mother's behalf. She sometimes called him too. My father begged the lawyer to let him speak directly to my mother many times, but it never happened. I could tell by the way they talked that he had no clue when my mother told him she wanted a divorce. Well, again, I'm not even sure if she told him in person. The lawyer told him not to meet my mother, not to call her at work, and many other things too. To top it all off, she told him not to see my mother ever again. He wanted to talk to her. He called some of their mutual friends, but he only found out the name of the guy she was having an affair with and nothing more. This is so sad. I'm not even talking, like, don't mistake me for being like, oh, fucking, it's always the guy who gets the bad end of the stick. Like, I'm not even going that route. I'm just saying, like, again, we don't know technically everything, but the way it's intentionally probably being portrayed is that there's, and the thing the story's trying to get to us and portray to us and see why Rena feels so betrayed and almost like a cast off, like, or a castaway, or however you want to say it. What it's portraying is the guy, the father, uprooted his own life to support his wife, who was very into, you know, at the time, very career oriented, and just has his life, like, completely uprooted and then ended everything he knows, you know? And good on Rena for seeing this and then being like, oh, this sucks for him. And this doesn't feel right. And again, I'll go back to say, kind of scummy to spend a day completely splurging on your daughter, and then at the end of it, before you deliver the bad news, is, hey, again, I'm not an expert in divorce and how you speak to your kids about an impending divorce or anything, but in my head, starting off with, no matter how young they are, starting off with, hey, who do you like more, me or your father, just seems not ideal. In my head. In my head, that feels rough. And like I said, manipulative. But the moment I have a divorce, which might be skipping a couple steps at the current rate, right, or my current point right now, but if I get into a divorce and also have a kid that then I need to explain the divorce to, I'll add an addendum to this. I'll re-edit this VOD, this video specifically on YouTube. I'll edit a little editor's section, and I'll update everyone on how I broke the divorce to my apparent kid. I'm for sure I'll do that. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. I don't know why that cracks me up so much. He asked me, do you know the guy? I told him, I do. Oh, is he gonna get revenge somehow? That'd be wild. I also told him that he was a funny guy and had given me candy many times. I'll never forget how he looked when I told him that. Ooh, that probably broke the father's heart. Oof. Oh no. He hit me for the first time. He hit me so hard that his hand print stayed on my cheek for a while. Then he fell on the floor and cried loudly. And then I started to cry too. I didn't cry because he hit me. Uncle Akihito was kind to me, so I liked him and talked to him out of courtesy. No, that wasn't it. Girls had to be kind to everybody. That's what I thought. But I was wrong. I learned in this world that there are people you should be nice to and enemies you shouldn't be nice to. The enemies are the ones who would destroy my life with their very existence. Whether they mean to harm me or not doesn't matter. They're like weeds growing in a flower bed. Dandelions are innocent, but they take all the nutrients for the tulips from the soil. That's why we have to pull them out. The dandelions did nothing wrong. But they're the enemy. Enemies are bad people. That guy was a bad person. I shouldn't have accepted him. I should have rejected him with everything I had. By doing so, I might have been able to disrupt their relationship. By doing so, I might have been able to make my mother feel like the relationship was not going to work. Also, I'm feeling kind of betrayed by the beginning intro thing to this chapter, saying it was all going to be sunshine and rainbows and happy times until the end. I don't think we're at the end. We're having a little intermission sad moment here. A rough patch. The hell is this all about, you know? Did I read that? By doing so, I might have not been able to take my mother, or been able to make my mother feel like the relationship was not going. Try that one more time. I'll start from here, actually. I should have rejected him with everything I had. By doing so, I might have been able to disrupt the relationship. By doing so, I might have been able to make my mother feel like their relationship was not going to work. If I tried to do so, my parents wouldn't have had to break up. Don't you just love it when parents like divorce and then their kids feel like it's their fault, or they caused it, or they could have done something different to make it not happen? That's the number one thing I always hear, that that's a good thing. You want the kids to feel guilty. My father and I cried together, but we cried for different reasons. He must have cried because it happened so fast and didn't make any sense to him. I cried because I regretted that I let it happen when I had the chance to prevent it. My father stroked my cheek and opened his mouth to apologize, but he couldn't speak and just cried with me. One day, the lawyer let me see my mother. My mother asked me to live with her at her house again. I didn't know what to say, so I just kept looking down and listening to her apologies. My father knew that I was going to see my mother on that day, so he handed me a letter and told me to give it to her. I don't know what he wrote in that letter, but for some reason, I was able to imagine what kind of things he wrote when I felt it through the envelope. After all, the letter inside the envelope had a rough surface. He must have been crying while writing the letter, and his tears made the letter all wrinkled when it dried. My mother took the letter from me. I'm filled with anguish. I'm filled with, My mother took the letter from me, told me that she'd read it later, and was about to put it in her bag. Oh, you know that mom's not reading that letter. Her ass is not reading that letter. That letter is finding itself in the bottom of a trash can the moment Rena turns around. I won't get too much into the weeds of this. I can't remember if this is a story I've ever said on stream before. This is, we've had a lot of personal stories, slightly personal stories, both in the past but also tonight. This one, again, to protect, and not because I'm trying to dogpile, for sure, on anyone. And I feel comfortable and safe enough to say this on stream now that we're quite removed from it at this point. But years ago, I ended a relationship I was in with someone, and it was the first and at this time only time that I was the one who officially called off a relationship, and it didn't end very well. A lot of hurt feelings on especially the other person's side, and obviously I felt bad about the whole thing. So again, won't get too much into the weeds of that. But I forget how long it was after things were officially over. I don't know if it was the next day or I think it was probably a couple days or something. And you'll see why I'm reminded of it here. But it must have been a couple days. This person knew, knew obviously where I lived and everything. And I rolled out of bed like I was at the time. I was at a different place of work than I'm currently now. And I rolled out of bed and I was, lazily getting ready. Went down to my car at my apartment complex, and there was there was like a notebook piece of paper like folded up like three like in thirds, you know, like how you'd fold up like just a note, like a notebook sheet of paper, and like tucked under my windshield wiper. And I didn't even notice it until I got into my car to like start my engine. And then I was like, wait, what the fuck is that? And I thought it was going to be a note from like a neighbor saying I was being too loud or something, or a prank of some sort, or like an advertisement. Like I was like, what is it going to be? What is that? Because I was not even like thinking about what it actually ended up being. It ended up being a note written from the person who I ended the relationship with. And I was just about to head to work, and like I said, things didn't end on the best of notes, to put it one way, when things ended. And I was like, well, I'm definitely not going to read it now, because I am not even 100% cognitive, even though I'm getting behind the wheel of a car. But I'm trying to drive to work, whatever. I'm not going to read this note that like I could tell was like fully taking advantage of the whole space of notebook paper. Like it was a whole big thing. And so I was like, I can't read this right now. So I just threw it like on the seat next to me, went to work, but the thing was, and this is probably, you could probably disagree with me here and probably say like I'm bad for this, but I didn't end up reading it. Once I could tell that it was, because I read I think like the first line just to make sure it was from this person, and I was like, there's a little bit more to the story. Like I said, I won't go into the deep details of that, and then I won't go into other details because, like I said, it's gets to be whatever. But the short of it is, a big note was written to me, not sure what it was, although again, I had it summarized to me what it was at some point later, but I didn't actually read it. Not out of like malice or anything, but I was like, it's not going to do me any good to read it. And so here I am criticizing this lady. I'm saying all this because here I am criticizing this woman who's just going to probably not read the note her crying husband, ex-husband, wrote to her. But I technically did something similar. Although it wasn't divorce. I will say that. I've never been married. I should say that. So it was never, I didn't get to the point where I was divorcing someone and also had a kid and then also asked them, hey, who do you like better? Oh my God, what a disaster. But yeah, so maybe I'm the bad person too. I mean, I don't know. I'm always curious. I think this is the first time I've talked about this story. This is probably the first time I've talked about this story outside of like my best friend, because obviously I told him about it. He ended up being a part of the story, not in a weird way. That sounds weird the way I said it. He was a part of the story. He was a part of the story in the fact that I pulled him into it just because he was, he's a friend in my life who then got the story. So if you're watching this VOD or you're watching live, you get this story that I had never told anyone else. Again, I feel removed enough from it at this point where it's not like a big deal, and I'm not obviously identifying anyone either by it. But that was a rough time. But I say that all saying like, here I am, glass houses and all that. I didn't read that note. I couldn't read that note. I didn't think I would gain anything from it. Like I said, the way things ended, it was quite definitive on my end, and I wasn't feeling too happy about having to do it. I already felt bad enough that I was doing it, and I didn't need to read like a full page that I'm assuming was going to intentionally try to make me feel worse about ending it, if that makes sense, right? But I say that all, the story, the removed from this Higurashi moment thing, right? Like, isn't it wild to get a note written and stuck to your like car like that? It was interesting, at least. It added a bit of spice to life for that one day. When, honestly, my life needed the spice in it, because that was, like I said, mentioned, that was back at the old place I used to work at, where I was starting after, like, I was there for almost, like, 5 years or whatever, once I ended there. And I was hating working there, and I was just depressed about a lot of things. If I'm being 100% honest, I had some rough stretches back during my early 20s when I was at that workplace and had like different relationship stuff happening. A lot of weird things that I'm now again so far removed from, both mentally and like timeline wise, that like now I can look back all those stories and be like, oh, you know, I'm in a much better place now. This is so much better. But yeah, just interesting. I remember the time being like, I can't believe this person stuck a note to my car. That's just wild. I couldn't even, because what that meant is that either, because it was like in the middle of the week, so that person, knowing where I lived, drove to my apartment and either late at night or super early in the morning drove to my apartment, found my car in the parking lot, had this handwritten note, and then stuck it in the windshield wiper of my car. Oh my god, I could never imagine doing that. I wouldn't have the balls to do that. And again, you're listening to the story, you're missing some context to it. Like, you don't know just how things like ended or whatever. But with the way that how things ended, even more balls to like do that. Crazy. Some people are just more wild than me, you know. This is gonna end up. This is gonna. If you're like watching Higurashi and you run into this video throughout the whole series, and you're just like, you're one of those people that just wanted clean me just reading and reacting to Higurashi, this stream was definitely not for you. There were so many pit stops along the way here, so I apologize. If on the other hand you enjoy these types of more personal stories or whatever, a lot of breaks in between the reading, then you're eating, you're feasting. You got plate up to your face, you're just feasting, you know? Hopefully more people are in that second camp, but I have a feeling I'm not going to be so lucky. Like, comment, or subscribe if you hate hearing my personal stories. Alright, I stopped her and told her to read it there. Alright, so let's get back to the story. Rina, she sees that her mom takes the note that her dad cried and sobbed and wrote for her. Very upsetting. Stuffs it in her bag, was it? And then Rina says, as a kid, says, no, you're not going to read it if you just don't read it now. And I don't see you read it, so you should read it now, kind of thing. Interesting. Young Rina's got balls. She said, or it says here, I wanted to see how she was going to take the last words that my father had left to her. But my mother didn't read it. She told me she wanted to read it alone later, and she put it in her bag. Which is valid. Very valid. If it wasn't so almost seemingly overwhelmingly confirmed that the mom would just not read that note at all. At the time, I realized, no, it was more than that. I should say, I knew, because it was so obvious. Wow, it's literally mimicking the words I just said. I knew that my mother was lying. She had no intention of reading my father's letter. I know, because it's mimicking the words, because I literally just told a personal story where someone stuck a letter to my car, and I was like, I'm not reading this shit. I've experienced this. Unfortunately, I'm the mom in this situation. I know how much you don't want to read that letter. If things you feel are ended, now again, we can argue the way the mom ended things is in poor taste or whatever, but like, it just like my mindset at the time, I was like, this is over. So, what am I gonna get from reading this? It's unfortunate. It's an unfortunate truth. She was going to throw it away after I was gone, but she lied just because she wanted to seem like a nice person in front of me. The slight curl in her eyebrows and lips told me that more clearly than anything else. At that moment, I finally knew something else. The guy she was having an affair with wasn't the only bad person. My mother was also a bad person, damn. Since that moment, the existence of my mother disappeared from my world, like dry ice evaporating. I didn't have to hesitate about whom to live with anymore.
あなたの家には行きません。
I don't want to go to your house.
私の家は竜宮の家です。
The Ryugu house is my home.
もうあなたとも会いたくありません。
I don't want to see you anymore.
二度と呼ばないでください。
Please don't even call me. Fuck.
でもねレイナ、お父さんの方に残ったらこれからの生活。
But Reina, if you live with your father, you won't have... At that moment, I hated my name for the first time in my life.
私のこと
Please,
気安くレイナって呼ばないでください。
don't call me Reina ever again. Reina. Reina. Wow, so we're getting origins, like we're specifically spelling out the... where she made the declaration that she didn't want to be called Reina anymore.
失礼します。
Which I didn't think we'd get more than anything we'd been told previously. I have to go now.
さようなら。
Goodbye. Those were my last words to my mother. No, to the woman who used to be my mother. After that, I spent many days without feeling anything. I didn't know if the days were long or short. Didn't know which season I was living in. It was supposed to be nothing out of the ordinary, not having my mother around. But every time my father saw things that reminded him of her, like her toothbrush, her teacup, or her favorite books, he shed tears, which left me frustrated. That's why I decided to completely remove her belongings from the house. I roughly threw her things into a black trash bag. I started to do so frantically. By the time I knocked down her wardrobe, threw her music box hard on the floor, and broke her mirror, my mind was already not working properly. When I try to remember what happened after that, I feel disoriented. That's because the pills the doctor gave me back then made me feel disoriented and lethargic every time I took them. Seems that dullness hit me especially hard, since every time I try to remember that time, it makes me feel disoriented and lethargic, just like the pills made me feel. I destroyed everything that smelled like my mother, but the thing I wanted to destroy the most might have been myself. Even after I threw all of her belongings away, I still couldn't stop feeling regret, and I decided to blame myself in the head. Maybe I was thinking that I wanted to do damage to her reputation and successful life by destroying her daughter, destroying myself. When I was about to reach that very last resolution, Yashiro-sama came to me. Oh man. Oh man. Oh. Yashiro-sama told me to go back to Hinamizawa. Oh, this is all bad. So this is like the origins of like, I mean, how you would kind of say like, for lack of a better way of putting it, like the brain chemistry of Rina getting fucked up. I don't know if that's the best way of putting it, but like a traumatic life experience, and now we're seeing here, then she starts going off on this path of, oh, it's so bad. Oh, it's so bad. Everything's so bad. Alright, yes, all of this was because of his curse. Oyashiro-sama brought a curse upon the Ryugu family because we broke his rule and abandoned Hinamizawa. After I figured that out, everything started to make sense to me. All the crazy things that happened after my mother was gone. The curse of Oyashiro-sama did all that to us. It was Oyashiro-sama's voice that was telling us to come back to Hinamizawa. That's right. We should have stayed in Hinamizawa. Everything went crazy because we moved. We had to go back to Hinamizawa. I started feeling disoriented again, and a dull pain ran through my head. It might be a scream from within, me telling me not to push myself too hard to remember any further. The house where we used to live in Hinamizawa was still there. My grandma already passed away, and the house was the only property she left for us. I remember that I used to live in Hinamizawa, but all I remembered was that it was a village that I used to live in until right before I went to elementary school. I remember the atmosphere of the village too, but that was all I remembered. I forgot the streets and even the names of close friends I used to play with. The neighbors knew that the son of the deceased woman had come back divorced. But they didn't know us, and we didn't know them. so it was almost like we moved to a new place. However, as far as I was concerned, it still was my hometown that I had come back to. At first, everything was inconvenient compared to life in Ibaraki, and it was hard for both of us to adjust. But we renovated the old house, and it was only me and my father. Life here seemed to make my father forget his pain from the divorce. Mi-chan was very kind to me, and I started to get used to my new life too. I did everything around the house, and we gradually went back to a time when we used to live happily. Anybody can live a happy life. People sometimes say that some people are born to be unhappy, but I believe that's just an excuse for people who don't even want to try. I won't give in to fate. I'll never give up trying to recapture the happy times that I lost. I'm going to become happy to the point where I don't even feel the happiness anymore. I'm not going to cry anymore. I'll never cry again. I used up all my tears on that night my father hit me. The curse of Oyashiro-sama is over because we came back to Hinamizawa. So, I'm going to have a happy life from now on. All of a sudden, big raindrops hit the roof of the car and I recovered my senses. It was still raining hard. It had already gotten dark outside. The shadows the table lamp created were very dark, and it looked as if there's nothing else around me. If I turned off this light, would everything in this world disappear? I turned off the light. Darkness swallowed me. But cold air and the sound of rain didn't change a bit, and that made me realize I was still in this world. The curse of Oyashiro-sama. Did the curse of Oyashiro-sama do those crazy things to my family? Or did I convince myself it was an excuse for myself because I didn't want to feel guilty about the divorce? Sometimes I'm not sure. Since that time, Oyashiro-sama hasn't come to me. I sometimes feel like it was a delusion I created because I was mentally ill. But he did come at that time. I'm sure about that. Am I right, Oyashiro-sama? I was unhappy after I left Hinamizawa, but I came back and I'm happy now. But where am I supposed to go now that I'm unhappy in Hinamizawa? Where?
ダメだ、レナ。
Stop it, Rina.
不幸になったとか考えちゃいけない。
Don't think that you're unhappy.
私は幸せなんだ。
I am happy.
幸せになるんだ。
I will be happy.
だから絶対に幸せになれるんだ。
I can definitely be happy. Suddenly, I felt that if the darkness swallowed me, I'd never be able to be happy again. I found the switch of the table lamp and turned it back on. When I looked at the clock, it was already past 11 p.m. I had to go home. I wouldn't have time to prepare my lunch trip tomorrow. At least, I'd have to set the timer on the rice cooker. It didn't look like the rain was going to stop anytime soon. I looked out the window to see the rain, but could only see my reflections. Or reflection. I talked to that reflection in the window. I'm so glad that my father's happy. He'd been acting like he was dead for a long time. The smile on his face is a good sign that he's regaining his former happy life. He became miserable. Because of me. That's why I don't mind doing things for him until he regains his smile and we become truly happy. When I stay here alone for a while, it gives him some time to be alone with her. Plus, I don't have to fake a smile. But then, my reflection in the window tells me, Rina, you're such a good girl. You're kind to everybody and love them equally. You can make anybody like you. But, did you forget something? In this world, there are people you should be kind to. And enemies that you have to reject with all you've got. I thought you learned that lesson. No, don't listen to her. My reflection is always mean. She always says mean things and makes fun of my worries. But she always tells me things I can't say myself. Let's go home, Rina. To your home. Forget about the mean Rina in the mirror. I was a bit hungry by then. After all the desserts I ate, I still got hungry. I almost forgot. Rina-san bought me a shortcake. The other Rina. Rina. Should I say Rina? That's probably not right, but at least it easily establishes a different person. Rina. Rina with an I. Bought me a shortcake. I've never had a shortcake from Angel Mort, but I bet it'll taste good. I'd have to give my thanks to Rina with an I-san the next time. I can't keep saying Rina with an I. Rina-san the next time I see her. Rina-san speaks in a way that makes it very clear how she grew up, but I'm sure she's a good person. That's because she's so good to my father. Okay, so Rina with an I is, we're now confirmed, the dad's new lady friend. I did everything I could to make my father smile, but I failed. On the other hand, Rina-san can put a big smile on his face so easily. I have to thank Rina-san. I have to thank her for cheering up my father. Is it all weird? I know I might be mispronouncing. There might be a differentiation in the name thing, but like... And maybe I'm making a bigger deal than out of it, but if your daughter's name is Rina, or wants to be called Rina at the very least, and then you start dating someone who's named like Rina, is that at all weird? Again, obviously there's nothing that actually weird about it, but is there like, how often do you think about it? Probably. Do you go like, oh, that's... My daughter's name was this, and then... I don't know. Unlike the letter thing, that's not something I have experience with. So I don't know. I don't know how weird or how often you think about it. But I don't know why. I just don't like her perfume. Oh no. Are we establishing... Oh man. Our Rina not liking this new Rina, even though she sees this person be good for her father? Oh man, there's some weird... Something's happening. Something's gonna happen in this chapter. Holy... Okay. Oh man. Oh man. Before we get to these, let me just say, this was a fun Tuesday Higurashi stream, in my opinion. Again, I think the content of the chapter was interesting. We got to reminisce about old me stories. If you're like the one who's someone not I don't want to say appreciative, but not for those things, I could see how you're like, fuck this stream. But I thought this was good. All right, here we go. This was an interesting little bit, even though I was lied to and swindled by the opening, saying that it was only going to be good times, or at least that's how I understood it to mean. We were going to only have good times for this chapter until the end. It was at least, I mean, impactful Rina origin story. All right, my summer vacation picture diary. Ooh, picture diary. Today, I went to a swimming pool with my mom. Uncle Akihito came with us too. I don't like him because he's sometimes mean to me, but he's a very kind and funny old man. He told me to call him Daddy for that day, because he was going to play with me at the pool like he was my daddy. My mom called him Daddy, so I did too. Uncle Akihito looked very happy and gave me a lot of money. My mom looked very happy, and it made me happy too. I want to play with him again. I hope my dad can come with us next time. No. No. Oh, how naive. Oh, premonition of rainy days. I opened the window, placed my cushion nearby, and prepared to enjoy the weather. But she came over and disrupted my peaceful evening. She always ruins my time of solitude. You look pleased. Oh. You look pleased. Oh, that's right. You ate lots of your favorite sweets today. This girl loves sweets more than anything. I like them too, but I can't eat like she does. It'd give me heartburn if I ate the amount she ate today. She seemed to be very happy, so I'll leave her alone for a while. I've been making my favorite hot and salty food for the past few days, so she must be quite pleased today. It was a very fun day for me too. I just wanted to enjoy the memory of the excitement I felt today by sitting here quietly enjoying the sunset. But when I looked up at the sky, I saw some thick clouds forming there. The wind was a bit cooler than usual. It might start raining soon. What is happening in this? Okay. It might start raining soon.
大地震や大津波などの知らせとして浅瀬に普段は絶対に見かけることができない深海の魚が現れることがあるっていう話があるらしいわね。
People say that when deep sea animals come up to the shallows, it's a sign of a big earthquake or tsunami. We saw a very rare fish that dwells in deep water in the shallows today. Just as the ancient stories of sea monsters say, people hate deep sea animals and tend to interpret them as omens of a disaster. It didn't matter if they showed up alive or dead. Ah, I said something interesting just now. Even if they showed up alive or dead, it was an omen of a disaster. Oh, it might start raining soon.
うるさいな。言われなくても分かってる。洗濯物を取り入れるわよ。
Yeah, I know. You don't have to tell me. I'll get the laundry. I grabbed a basket and went outside to take the laundry in. The clouds were getting darker. I normally like rain, but I didn't think I'd enjoy it today. Interessante. That was a fun stream. I probably artificially lengthened it with how often we took breaks. Again, apologies if that's not for you. Sorry I wasn't sticking so much to this script there of the game. But I was having a good time. And that's mostly the importance. I won't say 100% the importance. And I don't mean to come across as very, like, me focused, but I'll always say these streams are primarily first for me. Secondarily for anyone else that wants to enjoy them. Because if I'm not enjoying it, then there's no point in me doing these. So, but yeah, I had fun. Hope you enjoyed. Seriously, real talk though. Good Tuesday stream. Wednesday should be a stream as well, I think. I think we're going to jump back into Dr. Decker. What is it? I always get the beginning part of the game titled incorrectly. The infectious something of Dr. Decker. Infectious... I should still have my YouTube tab open, yeah? I'm going back. Infectious Madness of Dr. Decker. The FMV game we're playing. We played first stream of that a couple days ago. We'll go back to that. That game I don't think is super long. So don't be surprised if... I don't think we'll finish it tomorrow, but I think it's probably only got like 2 more streams to it. So we'll go do that tomorrow. Thursday, obviously no stream. A Friday? I'm not sure. But there should be a stream Friday night as well. And then Saturday, we'll be back with Higurashi. I think I mentioned this previously. I don't think it's this week. I have to double check my calendar, my work calendar. But at some Saturday this month, I know I have a work, like a work, team work, out of work, social thing. I don't know why I can't find the words to describe it. A social thing, obligation with work people, work teammates. I'm pretty sure, unless it gets canceled, some Saturday night sometime this month. So I don't think it's this coming up Saturday. It might be like end of month, maybe the 24th. I don't know. I'll try to double check. I'll try to, if I remember, I should check tomorrow. So there will be some Saturday this coming up month where Higurashi Saturday night will not be able to happen. Maybe to make up for it, maybe I'll do a Higurashi Friday night, perhaps, depending on where we're at in this chapter. We'll see. But I like to keep, especially on the Higurashi stuff, I like to kind of try to give as forward of an advance notice on those. So keep that in the back of your mind. Keep that percolating if you care to. I don't think I have anything else to say. Again, I hope you enjoyed the stream, as always. Hope you enjoyed watching, listening. I hope you have a nice rest of your day, rest of your night, whenever you're watching or hearing this. Take it easy. Stay safe, stay well, all that. Tomorrow's Wednesday. Still got half the week. Stay strong. And I should be back tomorrow night with a little bit of FMV games. So until then, take it easy.